Here's our political panel. Matt Schlapp is former White House political director under former President George W. Bush. Stephen Sigmund is a Democratic strategist, senior vice president of Global Strategy Group, and former communications director for former New Jersey Governor Jon Corzine. Matt, to you first. What about the Barbara factor? Can it light this fire we've been talking about under Jeb's candidacy?
You know, John, in every poll it shows that Republican voters want a candidate who is strong and a candidate who is feisty. They actually might be talking about Barbara Bush. In her 90s, she still has all that strength, and it came through so amazingly in that interview. I actually think it's a smart thing for Jeb Bush to do. His mother is a revered figure in politics. Yes, Jeb has to get it done in his own, but why not sit there with his mother and let her make the case as well? I think it's a good move.
All right, Stephen, let's get your take on it coming from the Democratic point of view.
Yeah, no, look, I agree with Matt on this. I think that Jeb Bush should have done this a lot earlier. I mean, it's much more authentic than, you know, the original signs of just Jeb cutting off his last name, right? He can be rightfully proud of what his family and particularly his parents have contributed to American politics in a time when people thought that getting things done actually mattered. The problem he has in this election is that moderates like he and John Kasich have no chance in an electorate that looks at getting things done as if it's being wishy-washy or a problem, and where the candidate who's currently thought of as the moderate, Marco Rubio, is anti-choice, even in cases of rape and incest, denies climate change, you know, is against immigration reform, even though he was for it before, has a tax plan that you know, has 0% on capital gains and would explode the debt by $2 to $6 billion. So Jeb Bush, I think, should have used his family all along. But in this electorate, as he even said in that interview, it's a very different kind of electorate that really doesn't accept moderate candidates in the Republican Party anymore.
Matt, we noted earlier that you used to work for George W. Bush during his presidency. It is said that part of the reason Barack Obama won the White House was because of some kind of Bush fatigue. Is that still a factor? Should he have brought Barbara Bush? Should Jeb have brought Barbara Bush into the race earlier?
Well, you know, I think Jeb Bush needs to channel his inner Barbara Bush, because once again, she's popular, but she's also really strong. And I think it's smart for him to be using his brother. His brother just cut an ad for him. What Republicans, let's not talk about just all American voters, but what Republican voters remember about George W. Bush is that he kept us safe. And at the California debate at the Reagan Library, where Jeb Bush reminded folks that, it was the strongest applause line. The #1 issue in this election is security, and that includes national security, and reminding conservative Republican voters that Jeb will also continue those policies that will keep us safe is a smart tactic to take.
That ad is being run by Right to Rise, which is the political action committee, super PAC, that is supporting Jeb's candidacy. I want to play a little snippet of that for you now.
The first job of the president is to protect America. Our next president must be prepared to lead. I know Jeb. I know his good heart and his strong backbone. Jeb will unite our country. He knows how to bring the world together against terror, and he knows when tough measures must be taken.
Stephen, effective?
Yeah, I do think it's effective. I just think it's too little, too late, and in the wrong year, frankly. I mean, he's running in the wrong electorate. Look, he has to finish, you know, at least 12, 15%. And a very strong, at least 4th in New Hampshire, really to even be able to stay in the race. That's true of John Kasich as well. I mean, look, in the end, what's going to happen here out of New Hampshire is that you will have a Republican race down to 3, each essentially more extreme than the next.
Well, John Kasich has said that he has to finish well in New Hampshire or he is going to pack it in. Matt, first of all, do you believe that? And
yes.
Secondly, okay. What defines well? Does he have to finish first, second, third? What's the line of demarcation there?
John, Marco Rubio is on such an upward trajectory in these polls that I think for Chris Christie and for John Kasich, they have to somehow, and for Jeb Bush as well, they have to muddle that Marco Rubio rise. And if they can somehow finish in a bunch together, then I think they can declare some kind of victory. But the problem for Kasich especially is his only real footprint from his campaign is New Hampshire. And if he isn't in the top 3, it's not a compelling case to make going forward. Christie and definitely Jeb Bush have legs going forward, but here's politics. Eventually you have to start winning these primaries. You're never going to get the nomination, and eventually that becomes true to everybody.
All right, Matt Schlapp, Stephen Sigmund. We're going to see what happens in New Hampshire next week. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thanks.